Welcome to E360 TV, the live streaming and on-demand destination for influential voices and enlightened audiences. We offer trending, grassroots, and purpose-driven content across a diverse range of interests. E360 TV is more than just watching programs. We offer the ability to interact with live shows connecting audiences to real, authentic influencers and storytellers while streaming to millions of devices. Real experiences. Raw conversations. One destination for it all. E360 TV.
You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me. Just call me.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of The Whole Living Show. And if you saw that ad right before I came on Trajectory TV, we are here on E360 TV. So make sure that you tune into Trajectory because not only is The Whole Living Show on that platform, but we also have some amazing shows on Trajectory. So tune in all day and you can tune in from anywhere because E360 TV Network with Trajectory TV has a mobile app so you can watch from your phone as you are on the go. So we appreciate you being here tonight. Tonight, as always, I have an amazing guest that is waiting backstage, but I'm not going to tell you, I'm not going to give it away yet and tell you who she is because I want to talk to you about pace and pacing yourself. I was reminded today by Coach Ariana, mindset coach extraordinaire that she is, to pace myself. I don't know about you, but for most women that I know that are in my life, we do a lot, and this is not to say anything against the wonderful men that are out there, right? But we women, we are always juggling so many different things, career, business, children, households, parents, just life in general. And we are nurturers by nature and we love people and we love on people and we're doing so many things, but sometimes you just have to pace yourself. So I was reminded of that today, as I am thinking about all the things that I need to do in my business, looking for that creativity inside of me and how to move forward. And I was reminded to pace myself. And yes, I have to do that. And my coach Ariana says, you don't have to eat the whole elephant at one time. So this is the truth, right? You do not have to eat the whole elephant at one time. You just need to strategize and plan and pace yourself and breathe along the way and things will happen. There's a Bible verse that says, ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, and it's actually the opposite, but knock and the door shall be open unto you, right? So just pace yourself and remember that verse and just go out there and seek, ask, and knock, and those things will come to you. So I just wanted to mention that. So I want to introduce you to my beautiful guest that is backstage. Her name is Lynda Sunshine West. And we actually met, on a great platform called Clubhouse. I've been meeting so many amazing people there, and so many people just very purposeful and intentional about living life to the fullest and just doing business, but doing business in a very heart-centered and genuine way. At least that's the people that I have been meeting, and I'm so grateful for that. So I am very grateful to have met Lynda Sunshine West right on that platform. So she ran away at 5 years old and was gone an entire week, came home riddled with fears, and in turn became a people pleaser. At age 51, she decided to break through one fear every day for a year. And in doing so, she gained an exorbitant amount of confidence. Her mission is to empower 5 million women and men to write their stories to make a greater impact on the planet. And we are going to get into this because I love her mission and her purpose. Lynda Sunshine West is the founder and CEO of Action Takers Publishing, a speaker, 22-time number one international bestseller. Listen, give her a virtual round of applause for that. 22 times number one bestseller, international at that. She is an executive contributing writer at Brains Magazine, executive film producer, and red carpet interviewer, everybody. So this beautiful woman has done some amazing things, and I'm going to bring her here so that we can get into this conversation with her. Hello.
Hi, Tracy. Good to see you.
You
Good to
as
see you today.
well. You as well. I'm so glad that you are here. And every time I read your bio, I'm astonished by it. And I know we had a conversation. So we had a conversation about your story. And to run away at 5 and be gone for a whole week is a very long time for a 5-year old. So I just want to get right into this. I want to talk about, what you were thinking at 5 that had you, you know, run out the door and run away?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for asking that question, because that was a piece in my life where, I made a decision, and it was maybe a rash decision at a very young age, but I just went to the neighbor's house. So I was safe. I was safe. Okay. And I made this decision though, because, I grew up in a very volatile, abusive, alcoholic household. And I knew that this was a place I really didn't want to live. So it might sound like such a simplistic, reason for leaving, but it's like, I realized that I don't want to do things that I don't want to do. And that's where I am still like that today, and I made a decision to run away. So I went to the neighbor's house and I was safe. However, what happened while I was gone that week was something that was really big, and it would shape the way I lived the rest of my life. Is nobody came to get me. So at 5 years old, nobody comes to get you. The first thing I had on my mind was that, like, they didn't come to get me because they don't love me and they don't want me around.
Mm.
And that belief locked in tight for decades.
Yeah. Did you feel abandoned at 5 in that moment?
Yeah, I felt that. I felt again, just the not wanting me around. That was kind of lonely, that, everybody else is over there having fun. And then I always felt like the outlier. I'm one of 5 kids. I'm number 4. So maybe by the time I came along, my mom was like, she can be safe over there. She can go over there. But I really think what happened was my mom was very open, kind of open-minded person. And I believe that she was just letting me be and letting me do my thing. After a week, she called the neighbor up and said, Linda's been gone long enough. You can send her home now.
Oh, yeah. So she was letting you explore, knowing that you were safe. And I was going
Yes.
to ask you that too. Like, do you think your mom was thinking, well, let me allow her to explore this and maybe even miss home,
Yeah.
while she's
Yeah.
gone?
If my mom had known how it would impact my life, though, like that belief of they don't love me, don't want me around, if she had known that, I don't think she would have done that.
Yeah.
She didn't know. She didn't
Yeah.
know how it was going to affect me. But unfortunately, it did affect me that way. But I'm who I am today. Part of it was through going through that experience of people not wanting me, believing nobody wanted me around.
Yeah, yeah. And I think about the fact that you went to the neighbor's home and her knowing the neighbors saying, okay, well, my
Yeah.
daughter's she's okay, she's safe, and I know she's safe. So allowing you to stay there. But I understand, your feeling for sure, because you were so young. I want to just give the people that are out there communicating. Woo, this Brandy was ready. Hey, sis. We appreciate you, and Mr. Charles Smith as
Charles.
well. We appreciate you being here. Both of those two beautiful people are authors as well. So you guys you're going to want to stay tuned, because as you heard in the bio, Lynda Sunshine West is the founder and CEO of Action Takers Publishing. So you want to stay tuned. But I want to get back into this conversation too, because I want to talk about now what came after, the feelings that you had, and then going back home, and how that, because you talked about how it shaped your life. Tell us a little bit about that part too.
I ended up becoming, in my bio, riddled with fears and became a people pleaser. And a lot of this was because, my dad was very volatile, abusive, alcoholic. And if things didn't go his way, boy, he wreaked havoc, throughout our household. And that just created this little Lynda, that was just like this ball of energy that was all locked up inside. I remember one time, I think I was probably about 6 and my sister was about 5. And my dad and mom were out in the living room, and my dad was the fighter. My mom usually just like kind of took it from him. And we were just like rolled up into a ball. And I, at 6 years old, was my sister's protector. Like I felt like I needed to protect my little baby sister. She's a year younger than me. And I just remember that feeling of helplessness and thinking that, what if he comes in here? What if he comes in here and gets us? And so just these fears that were really instilled in me at such a young age. And there's things we can do with fear. We can use fear to fuel us, or we can use fear to hold us back. And I chose to use fear to hold me back from doing anything, within my life. And I say do anything. It's not like I stayed at the house all the time, but I didn't venture out of my comfort zone. That was so scary to do that I just simply didn't do it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So I remember us talking about this too, and we have so much in common, because I too grew up in that manner. And I also remember I have a brother who's 6 years younger than me. So also remember needing to be his protector,
Hmm.
in those moments where, the rage outside of our bedroom was happening, right? Because it was my dad as well. And trying to find the sunshine within my room, right? And also thinking, what if it comes this way? It never did, thank God. But I just, I so resonate with your story.
Yeah.
I want to talk about, how you started to change your life, the thinking, the feelings, and you can tell us, some of the things that you went through to get you there. But you've turned that around so much, right? So talk about that process.
Oh my gosh. It was a process, that's for sure too. It takes time to transform, who we are.
Yeah.
And I remember is exactly the moment that it happened that the transformation started. One of the things I like to say is that I didn't know I was in the darkness until I was in the light, because I grew up in the darkness and I stayed in the dark. Like my mindset stayed in the darkness for all of those decades. So I was 51 years old. I was driving to work
Mhm.
after being 36 years in the corporate world. And I was driving to my 49th job. So I had a lot of jobs, and I'm driving to this job. I was working for a judge in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which for my line of work, that was the penultimate. That's the highest I could go. And I was just like, oh my God, I just hate this job. It's so boring. So 49th job, and here, like, I hate this one too. And then I started thinking, like, why am I here? Why am I on this planet? All I do is push papers around for a judge. It's like not an important job. And these were these things I was saying, like, as a matter of fact, why are we all here? Why is this planet here? What's the purpose of everything? What's my purpose? What is my purpose? And I was just asking that question outwardly, and it was like filled with anger. I was pounding my hands on the steering wheel. I was just so filled with anger. When I got to work that day, I saw a Facebook post, and it was from a woman I didn't know. And it said, I'm a life coach. I took some time off. I'm getting back into it. And I'm looking for 5 women who want to change their lives. I was like, I don't know who this lady is, but I want to change my life. So
Sign
I
me up.
raised my hand. Yeah. And that was the start of it. That was the door opener right
Oh,
there. And I
yeah.
stepped through it. I stepped through it.
And I want to just impress upon people the importance of that, right? In recognizing that, you know what, I could use the help here, and taking that leap of faith to do so. I mean, that's huge when, you're kind of in this cycle and you finally say to yourself, I'm tired of the cycle. And I don't even know why I'm in this cycle, because you kept saying, I don't even know why I'm here. What is my purpose, right? And why am I here doing what I'm doing? I love that. I want to recognize some other people too here. We have Patty Mays. I believe your mom saw your brilliance and independence. I agree. I absolutely agree. Sally Green is here too, saying hello. We appreciate you. And we're just getting so many comments. So I just love everybody sharing. We've got Iris here saying, evening, everyone. Thank you. And Brandy Johnson, who is also a life coach herself, is saying life coach love is awesome. I love that. So thank you. Just wanted to recognize some of the beautiful people out there engaging here. Make sure, everybody, that you stay here, because we're not done with this story. So, in thinking about now you stepping out and taking that leap of faith, before you get into what it did for you, what were your initial thoughts when you registered with this life coach?
What am I getting myself into? Really? It was a lot of money for me to pay. I didn't ever invest in myself prior to that. So taking that step was so instrumental in so many different ways. And the investing in myself, saying I'm worth it, saying I want to see what's more. Is there something else out there for me? So many different things were going on, inside of me. And I just did it, like taking that leap of faith. I continued down that path, which we'll share a little bit earlier. I broke through a fear every single day for an entire year. And that was through the process of working through my life coach And it really moved me into wanting to continue on with breaking through fears. And she was just so instrumental in my growth. I'm so glad I said yes to her, to myself. I didn't say yes to her. I said
Right.
yes to myself. Like I'm like, I deserve this, to see what it's all about.
Yeah. And did she task you to do the, break through the fear every day for a year, or did you task yourself to do that?
I tasked myself with that. Like,
Mm.
yeah. So it was interesting when I worked with her for 5 months,
Mhm.
and it was August through the end of November. By the end of November, after working with her, I had decided like I was going to quit my job, that job working for the judge. And I quit my job. And then December, I'm by myself and not having my life coach because I was done with her. And
Mhm.
then so January 1st of 2015, when I woke up that morning, I said, something's missing here. Like there's something that's not moving like it had been that
Mhm.
5 months with her. And I
Mhm.
said, you know what? I've got so many fears. I'm going to break through a fear every single day this year. And I
Mhm.
embarked on that journey. And you know what? That was like the life coach was the greatest decision. And this was another lots of great decisions have happened since I
Yeah.
raised my hand that first time. But breaking through those fears every day was instrumental in growth because it was just exponential. Every day it was like the growth was piling on top of the growth. I'm piling on top of the growth. It was incredible.
Yeah. Ooh, that's so good. So tell us some of the breakthroughs that you had, some of those that were quite monumental for you.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, first, what it looked like, I'll share with that because a lot of people ask me, did you know what fears you were going to break through, or did you
Mhm.
have a system? There was no system. Well, here was the system.
Mhm.
Every morning when I wake up, I'm going to ask myself what scares me. And then I'm going to lay in bed and I'm going to wait until that very first fear pops into my head. Whatever that fear is, that's the fear I'm committed to breaking through that day. So that was,
I got to stop you on this. I absolutely love that. That is so real and so authentic. Instead of a system, right? Because now you're saying your true self, right? And even
Mhm.
probably your higher self is saying, this is what I'm fearing today, coming up genuinely in that moment. I absolutely love that. Okay. I had to stop you, but go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, it's interesting. Again, it was just something that randomly came to me, right? Or did it come, came from God? He's like, you got all these fears, you got to break through them so that we can get you to your higher self, whatever that was. That for me, I didn't know what that was at the time. And so it was interesting. Here's what, there was many epiphanies that year. But one of them, what I noticed is that sometimes the fear would pop into my head instantly. I would make my statement, what scares me? Boom, there was the fear. Sometimes it would take 10 or 15 minutes, but my commitment again was to lay there and wait till that fear popped into my head. And so, some of the fears were like you're talking to a stranger, going to Starbucks by myself, going to a restaurant and saying one only, because that was a fear of mine, going to the movies by myself. So while these might not seem like a big deal to a lot of people, for me, they were huge.
Yeah.
These were huge. And, there's a saying that, fear is false evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
Well, when I was about 3 or 4 months into breaking through my fears, I had this realization that that is a lie because there's nothing false about my fears at all. And they don't appear real. They are as real can be to me.
Mhm.
And so I ended up coming up with my own acronym for fear, and that is that faith erases anxious reactions. When our
Ooh.
faith is strong, our fear is weak. So
Ooh.
if we're experiencing fear, this means our faith is weak. We can tap into our faith when we recognize that we're experiencing fear. So
Mm.
it's one of the things I started doing is tapping into my faith in myself that I can do this, my faith in my circle, the people who support me, the people who believe in me, my faith in them, and then my faith in God. So I have these three different levels of faith to tap into. And
Yeah.
that helps me to be like, okay, I'm going to move out of the fear and I'm going to do it because I'm scared. This is
Mm.
another one that was really, really important for me is I'm going to do this because I'm scared
Mhm.
instead of in spite of the fear, because I believe that when we say do it in spite of the fear, that's a
Mhm.
disempowering statement.
Yeah.
When we say I'm going to do this because I'm scared, it's an
Mhm.
empowering movement. And the reason I say this is because after doing this 365 days in a row, I'll tell you that 99.9% of the fears that I broke through, the result that I got on the other side of the fear was way better than I ever imagined. I met somebody who opened a door to something that I never even considered. Red carpet interviewer. I interviewed stars on the red carpet. I've interviewed the president of Mexico in his presidential suite. Those things happened because of the doors that were open, but it was because I stepped through the fear.
Yeah.
Because
Ooh.
do it because you're scared.
Yes. Okay. So a couple of things are coming up. One is alignment, because I was talking earlier about, seeking you shall find, asking you shall receive, knocking the door will be open. And you just gave perfect example of that through your journey, as you were breaking through your fears. But then I also love the fact that you talked about not saying in spite of the fear, because it's almost like giving the fear permission to stay around. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Yeah.
continue to come back up when you say in spite of. It's like you stand on the side and you stay there and you come back when you feel like it, right? Because I'm going to do this one thing in spite of you, but sit right here, So that's what you made me think. I was getting like this visual of like fear kind of stepping to the side of you, but kind of clinging on. So I love that you said because of and not in spite of, because that means you've moved through it so that you can get rid of it. So I love that. And I love I had to put this up here, and we're going to keep that up there. Faith erases anxious reactions. That is so good. So, so good. So please continue with your story. It's amazing.
Yes. So the people, again, the people that I've met on this journey have been the ones that have helped me to keep growing and to keep moving into new phases of my own life, and discovering my purpose. Like we talk about purpose and why and these things. These are things I didn't understand before in my life because we never talked about that when I was in the corporate world. This is more of like something that I learned through the entrepreneurial journey, and it's through this process of just breaking through these fears that really shifted my way of being. It shifted the way I show up. It shifted the way I see fear. I still experience fear because I'm a human being. However, how I respond to fear is completely different than it ever was before in my life, because now I'll say, oh, that's fear. Awesome. Let's go do it because I'm scared. And it just shifted the way I approach everything in my life now. So it's been amazing.
Yeah, that's so good. I absolutely love this conversation. And I love the things that you've done for yourself. And I would even say to everybody out there, task yourself to do this, to take that exercise, to break through the fears, no matter how big or small you think they are, because they're big for you. Make sure that you take the time and break through those fears. I love what you've done. And I love the way you did it too, because to me, it's just so real and authentic. I just have Sally Green here saying, hello, ladies. Hello, Sally. We thank you for joining us as well. Oh my goodness. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Everybody, do not go anywhere. You do not want to miss this, because I want to move into now after, going through this journey, recognizing that you needed the help, now deciding to break through your fears. What came on the other side of that, for you to talk about, being able to interview a president, this is something that, most people don't get to experience or have the courage to do. So I want everybody to stay tuned, because we want to talk about what came on the other side of it. We're going to a quick commercial break, and we will be right back.
Imagine a verdant paradise that stands as a convergence of worlds, a living temple of native wilderness, a place where the full potential of inherent human and earth magic can be seen, felt, and understood. A space that attracts the brightest and best of educators on the leading edge. A place of permaculture designed for the benefit of future generations.
Hello, everyone, and we are back, and we are here with Lynda Sunshine West of Action Takers Publishing. So if you have missed the first half of the show, I want you to go back and watch it either on Facebook or YouTube or on this wonderful network, E360 TV. It will be out there for you on demand, so you can watch it anytime, because if you missed the first part of this conversation, you want to make sure that you tune back into it, because Lynda shared so many amazing things about her story, her life, her journey, and overcoming fears. So we're going to bring her back in, because we want to get right back into this conversation. So, hey there, Lynda. Thank you for waiting patiently backstage. This has
Great
been
commercials.
amazing already. Amazing already. And Charles Smith out there is saying time is moving too fast. And I absolutely agree with him, especially when you have, these beautiful people that come on the show that are sharing so much about their life story. And Lynda, I mean, this has been just life-changing for me, even now, just hearing it again from you and understanding what you did and how you decided to overcome. So talk about now, what now has been on the other side of you overcoming fears. And then you mentioned something too, I just want to say, you said that the fears still come up, but now you say to yourself, okay, this is fear. Now I'm going to, break through this. So talk about, how you take that process now, break through current fears, and then talk about everything that has happened as a result of you changing your life.
Yes, great questions. Thank you so much. First, the answering the question of, how when fear shows up, first we have to recognize that that's what's happening, right? Before we can make any change, or I like to say before we can effect change, we have to have awareness. I'm going to sing my little ditty for you. This is one I just made up a couple of weeks ago. It's about awareness. I have awareness. I have awareness now. I have awareness. How now, brown cow? I have awareness. I have awareness now. It's time for me to move on, like Donkey Kong. That's my little ditty I created. But it's what's interesting is because we have to have awareness to effect change. Now everybody looks at it differently. I say everybody, but we all have different ways of looking at that awareness piece. And how do we get awareness? Well, one of the things that I do is I recognize that something's going weird in my body, whether it's sweaty palms, or my throat is locking up, or my stomach is going crazy, or I got a little bit of sweating up here, something like that. There's some kind of anxiety. This is like an anxiety reaction that our body is having. And oftentimes we can equate that to a fear that we're experiencing. So then we look at that and we say, what is this fear? Like, what is that I'm afraid of? We might not even know that we're scared of something, right? So we can ask ourselves, like, what is it that I'm afraid of? And then a lot of times our fears stem from something from the past, because we don't, like for future, like our fear is of the future, but it's oftentimes from the past. So my greatest fear, and this is actually the greatest fear on the entire planet, is the fear of judgment. The fear of judgment. There's a saying that more people are scared of speaking on stage than they are of dying. That's not true. The truth is more people are scared of the judgment they may receive from speaking on stage than they are of dying. And so if we look at that judgment piece, and we can say, okay, if my greatest fear is the fear of judgment, when I'm experiencing a fearful moment, what judgment am I afraid of right now? Am I afraid of the way they're going to talk about me? Am I going to say something stupid? Am I going to sound ignorant? By me singing my jingle in the past, I never would have done that because I would have been fearful that people would be like, oh, she can't sing or whatever crap is going on in my head.
You have a nice voice, by the way.
Thank you. But see, I don't see it that way. And so it's my own judgment of myself really is what was stopping me from moving forward in different judgments.
Yeah.
And so if we can recognize what the fear is and where it stems from, this helps us more easily to move beyond that fear. Can I share with you my 7 simple steps for breaking through fear every time?
Absolutely. I just wanted to mention something really quick because you talked about, breaking through that fear and the fear of talking on stage. I recently went to a event called Becoming the Best You, and I had to speak, and I was fearful. I was nervous, right? I was anxious. And I kept praying before the speech. I was like, through me, not from me, God. And if it comes from you and it doesn't come from me, then this will go the way it's supposed to. And this is the first time that I've ever gotten on stage to speak where I was not nervous when I got up there, and everything flowed out the way that it should. And I had my context, but not practiced the way I would have normally. And it was better. It was better. So I just wanted to mention that because I had to practice that and get through that fear. So please give us your 7 tips, and I'm going to put them on the screen.
Yes. Well, first of all, I want to make a comment on that. Also, I had the opportunity to sit with Les Brown a couple of hours, just he and I alone, which was awesome. That was a whole experience in itself, what's happened on this journey. But as I was sitting there, he said, don't let what you want to say get in the way of what the audience needs to hear. When he said those words to me, it made me realize that I was thinking too much about myself instead of the audience. Yeah. And that was like one of those clickable moments that boom, okay, that's a shift that I made right then and there to no longer think about myself when I'm on stage, always thinking about the audience. So that's one thing that I use, like whenever I'm on any stage, whether it's, an interview like this, a podcast, in person, whatever stage it may be, is to just make sure that I'm not in my own head and that I'm delivering from the heart, which is what you did. You moved into the heart space and your delivery was so much better than it ever would have been had you practiced. And that's my true belief, at least. So I can use the 7 simple steps to break through fear every single time. The first thing is we have to recognize we have a fear. Okay, so that was part of step 1. And so recognizing that we have the fear and then knowing what that fear is. So let's say, for example, one of the days when I woke up, my fear that day was to talk to a stranger in a Starbucks. It was very specific. What scares me? Talk to a stranger in a Starbucks. That was literally the fear. Okay. So then I look at that fear and I say, okay, my fear is to talk to a stranger in a Starbucks. So we're going to use that as our example. And so the first thing I do is I write down this. I used to write it down. I don't need to write it down anymore. But the question the statement you say is, if I talk to a stranger in a Starbucks right now, will this adversely affect my life 1 year from today? So it's, if I talk to a stranger in a Starbucks right now, so insert your fear. Will this adversely is key here, because can it affect your life? Yes. So you have to say adversely affect, because it can affect your life in a positive way. So can it adversely affect my life 1 year from today? And the reason we start with 1 year is because we need to start at a time frame that's so far away. It's like, of course not. Like we want the answer to be, of course it's not going to adversely affect my life 1 year from today. And then what we do is all we do is back down in time, and we get closer and closer and closer to today. So then we would say, if I talk to a stranger in a Starbucks right now, will this adversely affect my life 6 months from today? So we go from 1 year down to 6 months. And then from the 6 months, we go down to 1 month. And then we go to, I got to write it down, otherwise I forget how it goes. 1 week. So it's a 1 year, 6 months, 1 month, 1 week, 1 day, 1 hour, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. And then right now. So we get to the last one where we say, if I talk to the stranger in the Starbucks right now, will it adversely affect my life right now? By the time we've stepped down from 1 year, 6 months, 1 month, 1 week, 1 day, 1 hour, right now, by the time we step down there, we've had a real reality check. We've gone from emotion, anxiety, to think. Now we're thinking. Now we're moving into our logical mind. So now the vast majority of the time, I found that when I went through this process, it made it more realistic that no, this is not going to adversely affect my life. I need to go do this. Why? Because I'm scared.
Yeah.
And it helped me every single time.
Yeah. I love that. That's so good. It's so good. And I love the breakdown, you know, and kind of bringing it down. Because I think too, by the time you get to the hour and then right now, you're calmer too, right? Like the anxiety starts to go away because you're like, this really doesn't affect me. And as you go down, it's like, this really doesn't adversely affect me. So I love that you do that. It's kind of giving you a moment to like bring yourself down too, right? So I love that. So continue, please.
Yeah, so that's exactly what it's doing. Is it's moving from an emotion or like an energy up into logic.
Yeah.
So when we use our logic, you know, we're more logical with our decisions. And what I found though is that the vast majority of the time, I didn't even need to get all the way down to a day, because I would say, will this adversely affect my life 1 week from today? And I would look at that and then say, okay, let me think realistically. Will it? Because then I'm starting to think. Now I'm thinking. Another key to this is you have to ask the full question every time, a full entire question, because when we ask ourselves a question, our brain searches for the answer. So you can't just say like 6 months, 1 month. You can't do that. You have to ask the full question every time and then answer the question. Go ask the next question and answer the question. Now you're again moving into that logic, and you'll see that the vast majority of the time, your life will not be adversely affected by breaking through the fears that you have that are stopping you from living your life.
Yeah, that's so good. And I like that you talk about the logic too. I was listening to TD Jakes not that long ago, and he was talking about, you know, being careful about making decisions based on emotion, because sometimes it requires us to make decisions based on logic and, you know, kind of analyze things from the brain power and not the heart power all the time. So I love that you said that, you know, logic, because logically takes the fear feelings out of it, right? When you start to think about it logically. So I love that you said that too. Please continue with that. And Sarah Green is saying, I have awareness now. We love that.
I have awareness.
She's giving kudos to TD Jakes. Absolutely.
Yeah, he's awesome. He is amazing. Awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, and so thinking about this perspective, so that's actually the 7 steps, is the breakdown of, you know, stepping down in time.
Okay.
But I would just love, like, there was somebody who mentioned here about, you know, having fears to break through. And I just say, you know, I need to break through my fears. And so think about one. Just think about one fear that you have right now. If you have one right now, I keep saying experiencing, because fear is just an experience. You don't have fears, you experience it. It's a moment in time, and we can hold on to that fear for as long as we want. It's up to us. We can release that. And you know, going through these 7 steps is one of the ways that I've learned to release through those fears quickly. Not only that, by doing this step process, you know, I did it for probably about 6 months in a row. By doing that process, it's made it to the point that I don't even have to go through each step anymore, because now I recognize I have fear, and I say, oh, it's fear. I'm going to do it because I'm scared. So that's how it is now, you know. But everything is a process. Shifting, we have to want it. We have to desire, we have to, you know, just like really want to make a shift in our own lives. And I am on this journey to have massive shifts in my life, because I decided it was a little over 8 years ago, that I was going to spend the rest of my life having as much fun as possible, hanging out with positive and uplifting people who are making a positive impact on the planet. That was not my life prior to that. Which meant what? I had to make a lot of shifts, and I had to meet a lot of amazing, uplifting, positive, supportive, you know, motivational people, so that I could move into that. And that took a lot of stepping outside of my comfort zone. And you never know who you won't meet until you step outside of your comfort zone. You got to do it. If you want a different life, you got to create a different life. You got to go out there and do it.
Yes. Amen.
Amen.
Yes. And I love that too, because once you're open, right, and you break through those fears and you recognize that you have them, and then you're open to receiving the goodness of life, right? Because now you're thinking about it and you want to feel it and you're recognizing it in your spirit. When you're open to that, it flows in. I've met some of the most amazing people because of, doing the same thing, that process of, releasing the fears, releasing the toxicity, bringing in the positivity, like all of that. You start to meet the right people. So I love that you said that too. Talk to us about your amazing publishing company and some of the stories that have come out of your company now, and what you're able to share with the world because of what you do now.
Yeah, well, the breaking through the fears really was the kind of like the start, the catalyst, to doing everything I'm doing now, everything I'm doing now, which has been an incredible journey for sure. So it was February of 2015. I was about 45 days into breaking through a fear every single day. And I ended up meeting somebody who would become my mentor. He was putting together a book called The Footsteps of the Fearless during the year that I was breaking through a fear every day. And he said, "Hey, I'm putting together this book. I think you should join it because you're breaking through a fear every day. It really fits perfectly with this book." So I did it. I was scared, but I did it. I said, yes, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I embarked on that journey of sharing my story. And what's interesting is I had spent my entire life saying, I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer. And it was because somebody judged me when I was young, maybe critiqued my spelling or critiqued the way I would write my letters or whatever. And I carried that belief of what the belief that I got from them critiquing me. That meant I'm not a writer. And so anyway, I carried that around with me for all those years. And then I ended up jumping into that book called Footsteps of the Fearless. And then at the end of the year, when I was done breaking through those years, my mentor said, you should write a book about that. So I did. I wrote a book called The Year of Fears, where it talks about the 7 most important lessons that I learned during that year. And then after that, I asked myself a question that I like to ask myself frequently now, and that's, what's my next natural state of progression? I was in a book. I wrote a book. I'm going to start putting together my own books. I'm going to follow in the footsteps of my mentor. The fearless footsteps of my mentor, And so I started putting together my own books. And my first one was called Momentum. And Patty, who's attending here today, she is in that book. She's like a bonus chapter in Momentum. Now, this was a really important book for me because it was the start of me doing something that I never imagined myself doing something like this. And I reached out to some of the people that I had met along the journey. Some of them were the founder of UGG Boots, the creator of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, the inventor of the credit card magnetic strip. I reached out to all these gentlemen. I said, hey, I'm thinking of writing a book called Momentum. Will you be in it? And they all said, yes, of course, just let me know what I need to do. And I was like, oh crap, now I need to put together this book. So I put together that book, Momentum, launched it. It became a bestseller. And then after that, I was like, that was a lot of fun. I'm going to do it again. And so I did it again with 2 more books, the Fearless Entrepreneurs and Invisible No More, Invincible Forevermore. And then I ended up launching those 2 books 8 days apart. They both hit #1 international bestseller status in under 8 hours. And I was like, this is it. This is it. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do book publishing. And I literally stopped everything else I was doing. I had been running a women's mastermind for 6 years. And I let them know that Monday was going to be our last day, period. Like there was no discussion about it. I'm doing book publishing. Well, guess what happened? The next day, God sent me my sign that I was on the right path. He sent me this woman who said, I'm writing 2 books and I'm wondering if you will publish them.
Wow.
So nobody had ever asked me to publish their books before the day that I made the decision that this is what I was going to do. I didn't make an announcement to anybody. It was an announcement in my own head, but God sent me the person I needed in order to believe in myself. And ever since saying, like, I've been on this journey, doing, publishing the books. It's been amazing.
Oh, so good. Oh my goodness. And you always get that confirmation, right? When you make the decision, right? God gives us the power of choice. And once you make the decision to do what you're called to do, really, because that's what it's all about, it
Yeah.
comes, it just comes, right? So I want to, before we close this show out, give your information so that people can get in touch with you. Listen, everybody out there, if you have a book in your heart, in your spirit, in your soul that you want to write, this is the person that you need to connect with to get your book out there. Yes. So look at this. She is on all social media platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You can connect with her, Lynda Sunshine West. She makes it easy for you to go on all platforms and reach out to her. You want to make sure that you do that. If you have, a story that you need to get out there, that you have this burning desire to get your story out there, you should reach out to Lynda. So you have all these amazing books. I would love for you to send me your titles so we can even incorporate those into
Okay.
the Facebook page as well, just so people can get the books, because the titles are great. And I know that they'll help someone. So, let's put those in the Facebook page so that people can purchase your books. And I don't know about everybody out there. I know Audible is amazing, but I still love a hard copy book.
Me
I'm
too.
old school. I still love a hard copy book. So yes, get shit done. I love that.
Yeah. That's one of them coming up. We're actually looking for authors for that one. We do a lot of collaboration books. I love bringing community together. And because of that, I love doing the collaboration books. We do publish solo books as well, but the collaborations are so much fun because you're in this community of people who are like-minded. And, I'm going to shout out a couple of the books that we have coming up in this next month and a half. The Women in Science and Tech book is coming up, launching on March 17th. And then we have the Recovering People Pleaser is launching on April 10th. And we have the Teacher's Epic Exit Plan. We don't have the launch date for that one yet. And then Women with Healing Gifts. We don't have a launch date for that one yet either. But we have several other books coming up and plenty of opportunities for people to share their story. In one of our collaboration books, you write only one chapter. You write only one chapter, and then we do all the rest of the work. So we make it easy for our clients to become that best-selling author.
Yeah. Oh, this is good. And I love those titles too, and very different, areas of life that you're covering there. But so profound, like the women in tech, they don't get enough recognition. Women in tech do not get enough recognition. So I love that you're doing that. But all of the titles are amazing. So can't wait to see those books come out, and I'll have to purchase those books. And again, please put those on the Facebook page so people know what's coming, or if there's openings for people to be able to collaborate in those books, then, please put that as well, because we want to make sure that we're supporting what you're doing, and that people who are looking to get their message out there, that they can do that as well.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for letting me.
You're welcome. And I always hate this part of the show, everybody. I hate when it gets to the close of the show. So I want to thank you for, being so transparent, pouring out your heart, for giving so much good information and so many great tips about how you've overcome, and just your journey is absolutely amazing. So I just want to thank you for being here, and for just being so truthful and honest and authentic, and bringing, the true Lynda Sunshine West to this show. So you'll have to come back, as you are doing more, because I know there's so much more to come in your life. Please come back. Please let me know, what's going on, and come back to the show and share. But everybody out there, we thank you. We have Brandy saying, amazing show. Loved it. We appreciate you, Brandy. And Mr. Charles Smith, who is an author, saying the collaboration is important to know. So Charles, reach out to Lynda for sure, because he's a great author as well. So we love you, everybody. We thank you for being here. I thank Lynda again for being here and just pouring out. We will see all of you beautiful people next week, Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We appreciate everybody. Lynda, don't go anywhere. Really quickly, everybody take care.
Thank you.